Another AEW show, another one of my nightmares. Gabe Kidd starts the promo and calls out Darby Allin, and of course a brawl ensues. Duh, what were you expecting? Gabe gets a pretty good reaction from the crowd and they chant for Darby. Yura comes in, gets knocked by Darby, and it all ends in a big brawl between the Death Riders, the Ops, Willow. Hook is there, he fights Yuta, which I guess makes sense. Then we move backstage where Kid beats the hell out of Darby. Then, of course, he pulls out the hammer and tries to smash Darby with it. Brutal. Nice. Darby dodges, uses a rag to knock out Gabe, puts him out. After that, he puts him in a body bag, does chain to a truck, and he drives off. I think we've seen too many of these scenes where people drive off with people in AEW. To be honest, it was kind of a decent start, I guess, but it's gonna get worse and repetitive. We get a recap between Sasha Hogan, and she even wore a blonde wig, or maybe she dyed her hair, I don't know, but it's kind of funny, and Alex Windsor before their match for the TBS title. This time, she came with only the AEW title. The rest of the titles that she has are strung up like clothes on a line on the top rope of the ring, which is kind of weird. Alex comes in and she goes like, "Winza!" And this reminds me of the What's Up scene from the Scary Movies. Or Scary Movie, the first one, whatever. The crowd were chanting CEO at the start. We got some technical wrestling from What's Up. Get Sasha in a clover leaf, I think, but maybe a sharpshooter, can't really tell at this point, and makes her tap, but outside of the ring, while the ref is counting them. So yeah, that was kind of for nothing. In the ring, Sasha with a backstabber, followed by What's Up with a lariat, and they both fall down. Classic AEW spot at this point. They trade forearms, and the crowd chanted CEO. Some near fall, some "This is awesome" chants. They really are giving this match some time. It's like a 20-minute draw, whatever. But yeah, they're really giving it time. Sasha wins the roll-up. No surprise there. Frankly, again, it was a typical AEW match, so meh. Sasha gloats. Alex offers a shake. Sasha gives her the finger. They fight a little. Sasha gets the upper hand. And here comes Rio to the rescue of Alex. And so we have a new challenger for Sasha Hogan. What's interesting is that we haven't seen Rio in a long time in AEW, that's for sure. And hey, she probably aims to be the first double women's champ in AEW, I don't know. There's Triple Crown when you win like the 3 main titles, Kenny Omega doesn't count. And I don't know what's in it for this. Maybe Khan will implement a tag team title for women, who knows. Renee talks with the Ops. Finally, we get more story between the Ops and Hook. Joe gives Hook a talk about rising for the opportunity, then that he failed doing that and Hobbs didn't. At the end, Joe promises Hook that they'll always have his back, even if he wants it or not. After so long, this is what we get from this story, and it's meh. I like Samoa Joe, and he is doing his best, but his best with this is too late, because Hook has been back for a while, and we didn't get anything about him getting replaced. Hell, we didn't get anything related to that even when he was replaced by Hobbs so many months ago. When it comes to this story, it seems like Khan learned from the Noseman himself. That aside, I see that Hook got some muscle on him, and that's good. That's gonna work out well for him. We get a promo from Ricochet with the Gates of Agony by his side. It sucks, but the Gates of Agony are semi-decent when it comes to promos, but overall it sucks. But they launch a challenge to the Hurt Business, or Hurt Syndicate, to meet at All Out. Now we move on to Mark Briscoe. It's still weird to see him alone after all this time. I'm gonna be honest, it's still messing with me. Crowd chanting "Them Boys." He comes a promo about challenging for the TNT title and talking with Don Callis. Mark calls Callis the dude that dressed as Elton John's prosthetic penis for Halloween, which was kind of funny. That was very funny, people laughed. I have to say, it's a little bit interesting. Callis comes out and tells him his opponent for Collision is Takeshita. We get the stare down between Takeshita and Mark. Overall, it was a good segment, but I don't understand why they led this match for a show that mostly nobody watches. Mostly nothing interesting happens on it. And we know Mark isn't gonna win this one, not without devaluing the G1 Climax that Takeshita just won. So, well, what do I know? Mark isn't done yet. Mark says he wants someone right here, right now. So Calix picks the Murder Hawk, Lance Archer. What's funny is that before that, a fan tells Callis he should get in the ring. He probably should, and people would be happy to see him get his comeuppance. Eventually. Anyway, Lance lost like his last 5 matches, if I remember right. So he isn't that much of a big threat when you think about it. Nevertheless, Lance works big, which is very good. Mark bleeds. Yeah. Rocky Romero gets involved while the ref is not looking. And the fans are into Mark. He's clearly the underdog of this match, and clearly the underdog in all his matches with the Don Callis family. The match ends with a froggy bow and a 3 count. Predictable, but decent. By the way, Warlow is back, in case you forgot, but that's not relevant to this episode, because why would it be? It's time for a Toni Storm promo. She asks for a challenge. It's a decent promo. She's one of the few people that really has a character in this company, so she can work with something. Backstage, we get a segment between Kerry Cameron and Chris Statlander. It's a funny segment. I like Harry Cameron. I think she does a pretty good job. She's funny, she's entertaining. So, yeah, it's what you would expect from a segment with Cameron in it. Cameron asks for Brodido, though, that because they're ready and prepared for being the best tag team in AEW. Yuta comes in and tells Chris they got their back. Marina Shafir comes in for some reason. She says nothing, but I think that's for the better, if we remember the problem promo. Chris tells her she received the message and to tell it back to their boss, which is Jon Moxley. And yeah, I still find it weird that she tells that to Marina and not to Yuta, who came in and said that. And Yuta leaves awkwardly. Yeah, he does. Fun fact, during the whole brawl at the start of the show, Darby Allin used a skateboard with thumbtacks on Wheeler Yuta. And it's kind of broke that those thumbtacks don't really hurt because Yuta's back up, running, being awkward on the backstage segments. And now there's a tag team match where Yuta is in, alongside Claudio against Brodido for the AEW tag team titles. I wonder how this is going to end. Look, I usually like the Death Riders entrances. I think they're pretty cool. I always liked it when Jon Moxley came from the crowd. It adds something, to the whole feel of the match in the arena. But in this arena, it feels claustrophobic. They have to shimmy their way between some guys at a technical disc. So yeah, claustrophobic. Brodido come out and Brody barks. To be honest, I never understood why he and Braun do this. It reminds me of those crazy feminists that do that, or used to do that before they stopped because they realized how useless it is. Nevertheless, the crowd really dislikes you. The best part of this match is when Claudio and Bandito wrestle each other, but that's very little. The Death Riders get hit on Bandito, Brody gets tagged in, cleans house. Surprisingly, it was a good match. I think you can see that Yuta has really grown in-ring wise. Good for you, Silverhawk, with a Y. During the match, Shafir intervenes, with also Jon Moxley attacking Brody King. Near falls on Bandito to the frustration of the Death Riders. John wants to attack Brody again, and then comes Darby Allin to attack him. Brodido retain. Predictable match, but a decent good one if we could exclude the outside interference from John and Darby and Shafir. Backstage segment with Okada, talking about the tension between him and Takeshita. I can basically resume this whole promo in this whole sentence. I am the Rainmaker, and the Rainmaker is the top dog. Meh, this did nothing for me. This really feels more like a match that should be at Wrestle Kingdom, the Tokyo Dome, Korakuen Hall. And maybe Okada would care more then, but we'll see. Next we have the Hurt Business, Hurt Syndicate, whatever backstage segment. MVP does good, as you can expect, and they accept the challenge for the Trios match at All Out against the Gates of Agony. I'm just going to refer to them as the Gates of Agony because I want to ignore Ricochet's existence entirely. Now we move on, and it's time for the ENC segment. I'm happy Edge went back to Adam Copeland instead of Cope, even though commentary still refers to him as Cope. I think the memes got to him, to be honest. As Edge makes his entrance, FTR attacks him. Christian comes to the rescue, security comes to separate them. Dax got busted open, thanks to Christian, and it looked like Dax paid a receipt to Christian, but I may be wrong. They may be working a little bit too good at that point, and I'm just making stuff up. But maybe I'm wrong, as I said. So let's ignore that part. The Ring of Honor locker room comes to help the security guards. That just feels weird, and it's not helped by the fact that most of the Ring of Honor locker room looks like their enhancement talents, jobbers, to be honest. But whatever. There have been too many brawls on this show, too many aftermath beatdowns. It gets stagnant. It loses the impact it has, which is kind of sad because this spot with Dax bleeding and so on, that's a pretty good one. But then again, Mark Briscoe also bled earlier, so really, is it? Anyway, let's move on. Some dude named Adam Priest also attacks FTR. The commentary says something about last week at Collision, but most people don't care about Collision. It's just weird. Anyway, time for the main event. Hangman, Kenny Omega, Jet Speed against the Young Bucks and the Don Callis family. More exactly, Kyle Fletcher and Josh Alexander. Talk about cluster match. Damn. Before we get to that, we get Stokely cutting a promo backstage with FTR his side, which is meh. Adam Priest comes in and Glock FTR berates him, telling him to find a partner and that they'll meet on Collision. The way they act you would think Collision is a main show when it can barely get half the views of Dynamite. I get that they're trying to raise the stakes for Collision because in Collision we're gonna have Jon Moxley against, Daniel Garcia, a giant 8-man women's match because the one giant 8-man match isn't enough and you have two of them in the same week. But it just feels inconsequential, much like Rampage felt when that was a thing. Anyway, back to the show. Main event time, and this time for real. Young Bucks with the jobber entrance. We get a picture-in-picture with the Bucks doing a meet and greet. Apparently they're trying to pay back AEW for wasting the funds of the company, and that's why they're forced to do meet and greets. But it feels kind of stupid overall. Josh Alexander and Kyle Fletcher make their entrance now. Josh looks like a proper wrestler. It's what you would expect from him. And Fletcher is doing his best Elton John cosplay. I'm sorry. This Elton John joke is kind of used, but I kind of like the way it fits on Fletcher. It just makes him look unique compared to everybody else. Let's move on. And now it's time for the faces. Firstly, Jet Speed. And to be fair, I like the way they coordinated their colors, blue with red and white. It looks interesting. It looks good. Omega comes in. He looks in a better shape than last week. And there's clearly something going up with him. But nevertheless, he looks better. Finally, the AEW World Champion makes his entrance. Despite what many think, you can have too much of a good thing. And this match is proof of that. It doesn't take too long before, you guessed it, they just give up on the tag team thing and just bash each other and go into another brawl. Yeah. It's a little nostalgic to see Hangman and Omega tag team and double team Josh Alexander. It's shades of 2020, that's pretty interesting. Anyway, seeing Omega and Fletcher trade chops and wrestle a little was mildly interesting, I have to say. They do seem to work really well with each other, and let's be honest, getting them some proper time in a one-on-one is a necessity. Like, AEW should do good on this. At some point, Taz or Callis asked Tony Schiavone his favorite Okada match, and he can't name one. That was such a strange thing. A way to bury Okada, who's the unified champ at this point, I guess, but what do I know? Well, let's move on. This match is really a case of too many cooks in the kitchen. Josh Alexander stops Hangman from doing a buckshot, and the camera shows Kevin Knight on his feet just looking on alongside Speedball, who's on the ground. They just look at Josh Alexander, stop Hangman from doing the buckshot, and then just beat him. Later on, they move out of the shot, but that was really stupid. Anyway, in the ring, we get Hangman and Omega and the Young Bucks in the ring, and the crowd chants The Elite. Like this, it's a nice reference. It's good to see this again. At some point we get stereo super kicks to stereo lariats to stereo falling downs. Classic AEW spot. Love them. The interactions between Fletcher and Omega were also good, by the way, during the match. Surprisingly, at the end, the heels win after they do a bunch of moves on Kevin Knight. Poor dude. It was a cluster of a match. It's very overbooked. And, of course, after the match, what do you think happened? Another beatdown, another brawl. The Don Callis family joins in attacking Omega and Hangman. By family, I mean Lance Archer and Rocky Romero because they seem to be the only ones there. If we forget, we know the fact that Takeshita and Okada were also there, but they probably just bailed before because they don't care that much. I don't know. I don't have a reason why they weren't there, but whatever. Fletcher does a brainbuster on a chair to Hangman Adam Page, knocking him out. That was pretty interesting to see. And you will see during this beatdown that Fletcher gets some interesting spots. Omega covers him like he's Eddie Kingston. I know that's not the reference. I know that's not the reference to that failed match and that failed spot and stuff, but I think it was pretty neat. Omega overpowers the heels at some point and Fletcher hits him with a chair in the belly. And I think the camera missed exactly that spot. I'm sorry, but that's kind of stupid. You catch Kevin Knight and Speedball just standing there watching Hangman get stopped, punished, beat, and then you miss this very important spot. Let's be honest, they need better production, they need better camera work, they need better stuff. You can't miss a spot like that. Anyway, Fletcher takes him and does a brainbuster through a table and Omega is out. He needs a neck bracer. Fletcher somehow ends up cutting himself on his back. And it's kind of weird that happened, but it was clear an accident. But he puts in the good work, takes one of the guys their I was about to say headgear, no. Headphones and goes like, he's dead! He's dead! I'm just saying it. Fletcher is doing his best work at this point. After the whole he's dead part, he goes on to taunt Hangman. And that was pretty interesting in its own right. And it's very clear that the crowd hates Fletcher. The crowd really hates Kyle Fletcher. But I have to be honest, the whole aftermath section with the Callis family and with Fletcher doing the brainbusters and chair shots would have been the perfect note to end the show. But the whole show was filled with beatdowns and brawls to the point where part of the charm of it was lost despite this one and, well, I guess the one with Christian and Edge having memorable events. It was a decent match at the end, convoluted and overbooked, of course, but it gets extra points for not being predictable like the rest of the show. Overall, besides the main event, nothing that big really to write home about. If there's one match that you should watch, it's the main event, just because you have 8 good wrestlers in the ring, and even then, more so, you should watch it for the aftermatch beatdown, which really establishes future stories. Somehow, strangely, it feels like the Callis family is going to be the new Death Riders. And they kind of are to an extent. And boy, that's a nightmare we're going to have to live through, aren't we? Hopefully it gets better. Hopefully.